Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting Vobie One-Eyed Kenobi Showbie with me, Richard Vobes. And somewhere, not quite ready, is the lovely Julia with us tonight on the 19th of February 2021 at 8 o'clock in the UK at this precise moment. Well, yes, at this precise moment, in actual fact. And it's lovely to have you join us at the end of this week. Bit of a strange week in the old Vobes world, I'm afraid. I've not been out as much as I would like. The weather has been just sort of meh. Meh. A term that I don't actually like to use. Meh. It just seems too modern for me. And I'd like to know, are there words, are there terms, is there language that you guys out there don't like? You know, modern phrases you don't like. Things that you just find, nah, it's not really me. Like with text speak. Are you somebody who writes in text speak and takes all the words down to their basic components, like you for you instead of Y-O-U? Are you somebody that does that? Mate, as in M and then 8. Do you do that? Or is that something that you find abhorrent, that you can't bear, that you cannot stick with? Let me know. Want to find out what words, what phrases, what things don't you like? But today, this week, has been a bit meh. And I don't really know where it originated from. Meh. I don't even know how you spell it. And I don't really know what it means. It's like the word diss. When people go, oh, I don't want to diss you, mate. And I don't, diss, what do you mean, diss? Is that like Liss? Liss is a place in Hampshire. Diss is a place in Kent. So I never quite understand all of that. That all seems a little bit vague and strange to me. But if you've got words out there, then I would like to know it. But before we get to any of those, let's say a few hellos to a few people who happen to have arrivederci'd at the moment. So we've got the lovely Julia who's getting herself ready, and she'll be with us very soon, ladies and gentlemen. And how excited are we to have the lovely Julia with us? We are very excited, especially me, because it means that 50% of the show isn't done by me and I can relax a little bit. Otherwise, there's the strain and the stress of it all, and it's just all too much. Clive Waterfall is out there. He says, I'm the first tonight. Oh, hallelujah, baby. Which is very nice. Time for the hallelujah chorus. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Yes, a little bit of hallelujah time. We got a little head over in yeah, look, hang on, there he is. Look, there's a little head there. It's the little face. The little face has arrived. Hello, Joe. How are you? There he is. Look at him. Hello, Joe. Wave. That's it. He's waving his little frogs off. Hello, Joe. Look, it's Uncle Richard. Uncle Richard. I'm not really an uncle, but you know, I'm sort of friend of the family, allegedly. There we are. Poor little chap. He's looking. He is actually going to be the new engineer who controls all the knobs. Eric has got a day off. Yeah, so he's sticking his tongue out. Look at that. We could just actually put the camera on Joe. And it would be a much more entertaining show, in actual fact. It's very funny. Who else have we got out there? Whilst we're watching Joe stick his tongue out and nod his head up and down. Hello, Joe. Hello, Joe. I wonder if I just put my face on there. Hello, Joe. Can you see me? Hello, can you see me? Are you there, Joe? Look at his tongue. Look what he's done. He can do this amazing thing with his tongue. It's quite... Can you do your tongue thing, Joe? Joe. Put your tongue out, Joe. Sorry about this, ladies and gentlemen. A bit of indulgency here. Can you stick your special tongue out? Do that funny thing. He can't. Well, whilst he's doing that, let's say a few more hellos. Ernie Samet is there. We've got, I said Clive, Bob Fig, hello to you, Station Master's Choice. We've got Kerry Baldwin. We have Kathy B, lovely to see you there. Colonel Craig Ratty. Jen Coley, nice to see you. Kerry Baldwin, whose birthday it isn't today, by the way. Put your tongue away. Put your tongue in. Close your mouth. That's it. No, I'm talking to Kerry. It's not your birthday. Andrew Norris, howdy-doody. Ed Loud is all there. We have the Eastbourne couple. We missed you the other day. I don't know what happened to you. Daniel Watkins, nice to see you. Brilliant to have your company. Nootka, how's it going over there in jolly old Norfolk? Bonita Holland, or Bonnie, as she likes to be called, which is great. Mark Burgess is out there as well. Elaine Whitelock and Dave rather, Steve G. Mother Nature, how's Mother Nature doing? The Eastbourne couple says, oh, thanks, that's lovely. And we've got, who else have we got here? Kate Evans. Hello, Kate. Nice to see you. John Richardson, Robert Baxter. Many more coming all the time, which is fantastic. Audrey Forbes Hamilton, Ian Dance, Andrew, we said Andrew Norris, I'm just getting excited there. Linda Kane, Mike Stevens, and Sensible Paul, and Michael White. And if I've missed anybody else, Claudia Stringman, nice to see you too. And Skillet and Roy Hola, which is fantastic. Hola from Roy in Spain. Sean Ford, marvellous. Anyway, there we go. And if your name wasn't there, what are you sticking in your ear? Don't put that in your ear. What are you doing, boy? Get that out of it. I don't know. It's an outrage. Anyway, we'll come back to little Joe in a moment and make sure that he hasn't stuck anything else into his head. He's very charming. 90 people all watching with their tongues out. Yes, can you all do that thing? I can't do that. Is there something that you can do with your tongue that anybody else can? Apparently Joe can. I've just seen him do it. Here we are, look. Julia can do it as well. Could you unmute yourself, Julia? Because I can't hear you. Let's see if we can say hello. Hello, Julia. How are you?
Not good. I'm running around like a blue A fly.
Oh, hang on. I'm just going to turn the echo off. There we go. A blue A fly, eh? Like an aphid. An aphid.
Yes.
That would be an aphid that's got a blue bum. Look at it. There he is. He's doing it with his tongue. That is amazing. I can't do that with... Yes, all right. You proved your point. Blooming precocious child coming on here showing his marvellous tricks. It's outrageous, isn't it? It's an absolute... By the way, the show after 9 o'clock will be presented solely by Joe. He is going to be doing the monologue and then followed by a soliloquy, which will be fantastic. So that would be good. Eastbourne couple says, Vobes show, busy week with work, I'm afraid, but we missed everyone very much and thought lovely to be thought of. Of course, we're always thinking of all our lovely viewers as much as we jolly well can, which is very important. Kathy B says, I'm just happily watching Joe. He's lovely. Yes, there we go. Instant. If you need a, instant show, get a kid, little child who's very, very happy. So, Julia, how is the... Yeah, when I said unmute you. Oh my God. How has the week been? We saw you on Monday. I was on my own on Wednesday, and now here we are on Friday. Another week at home with the children. No school, no sign of good weather to get them out very far. How's it been?
Unmuting, and I don't really have an answer for that apart from meh.
It must meh. Meh. Where does meh come from? Is it from a film or something? Where's the phrase meh come from? How do you spell it?
M-E-H.
M-E-H.
Meh.
Meh.
And dis, I think, comes from disrespect.
Disrespect. Oh yeah, I think I did know that one actually. Now you say it, disrespect. It's just like horrible shorthand, isn't it? I can roll my
talk, don't you know?
Oh, it's what talk?
Oh, meh comes from The Simpsons, says Leonard Smith. That does ring bells.
Oh, does it?
Ding, ding.
From the bell ringer. Is that what he did? He used to go meh and meh, meh. Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted by Joe and his tongue. Good old Joe. It's just the you can or you can't, says Linda. You can either do it or you can't. I guess that's true. I can lick my nose. Does that count as a talent, says Ed Loud. Yeah.
I can too, apparently.
Okay. Go lick your nose again. Oh, yeah.
I can touch the septum.
Nice. I can't do that, I'm afraid. More popular than Marmite, says Station Master's Choice. Oh, yes, we did have a Marmite discussion. Well, the Marmite discussion is done and dust. Your son has a rumour goes around that your son, Joe, has a cannonball for a head.
He does.
And you've told me, a number of fat lips.
Yeah,
oh, my, yes, we can. Oh, my giddy aunt. Look at that. Oh, so what, he headbutts you. How does that happen?
Well,
unexpectedly.
He woke up. I lay down next to him.
Yeah.
And I went to lift him, and he lifted his head and then smacked it down. smashed into my face. No, thank you, Jojo. So yeah. Oh, and then it happened a few hours later again.
It's a constant battle, isn't it, with kids? I mean,
Thank
especially at
you.
that age,
Yeah,
because he's got now very good motor skills. He can move his body and he can pick things up and walk and all of that, which is what kids
which he
do.
loves to do and practice.
Which yeah, but at the same time, there's still that child clumsiness bit, of accidentally whacking your head round without the sense of what's near you
Yep.
and all of that. And
Personally, right for getting my face too close to his head, then I suppose.
yeah, but when you've got a cute little baby and you want to get closer, but then he just suddenly goes whack.
Yeah.
It must be, it's in the walls. And of course, how do you cope with that thing? I remember when I had the kids and they would do something like that. It's not their fault, but it would catch you unawares and then you'd feel this red mist and you can't get cross with them because it's not their fault. But you go, oh, for God's sake, look, now I can't show anger, but I'm very angry because they didn't do it intentionally, did they? How do you cope? You just got to count to 10, I suppose.
Yeah, I had to go and suck an ice cube twice in the night.
Oh, right. Oh, it was in the evening, was it? At night time?
Yeah, in the night. So quite sore still, but it's not. It doesn't look like I've had Botox, which is what was annoying me. I was like, ah.
Yes. Dear, oh dear. I gave myself a headache just trying to like my nose. Oh, to lick my nose, says Sean. I think he means, wouldn't be a headache to like your nose. That would be silly. I find whatever to be derogatory. Says derogatory is a great word. I like that. I hate the word whatever. When people go, yeah, whatever. That is very good. What if you weren't using these words? What other word? Instead of saying I don't want to diss you or disrespect you, what else would you say in this place? Or what would we have used to have said instead of meh? I mean, these words must be replacing other words because we have big fat dictionaries with loads of them. So when people used to go, yeah, whatever, what would they have said in the past? What would have been, what has this word now replacing? Edward Mullen says, time to clear the kitchen cupboards. Oh, yes, I've been round to your house, haven't I? When little Joe's adventurous...
I got to go and sort this one out, okay?
Okay, yeah, I'll come back to you a bit later on. It's a bit of a nightmare. What was that? Oh, yeah. So what are the words that replace them? Slippy is a sloppy way of saying slippery. Yes, that's true. Very good. Like that. That was Robert Baxter. Yeah. Steve Baker says, wait till he's 14. You won't get him out of bed. I know I had the problem with Billy trying to get him out of bed and trying to get him to school. And in the end, one day I was so cross, because I'd asked him several times in the morning to get up and time was ticking and it was almost school time. And he was just like, blah, 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 blah. I grabbed his arms in a fit of temper and dragged him out of bed onto the floor. And he was very angry with me, but it got him up. I don't know that it made any difference. Oh, gosh, darlings, says Bonnie. Oh, gosh, darlings. What does that replace? Oh, gosh, darlings. Whatever. Is that no offence, mate, was used before dis. No offence, mate. Oh, was it? Oh, okay. At this moment in time, instead of now, says Robert Braille. At this moment in time, instead of now, is replacing what? Because there's a slight delay between me speaking, you typing, and it coming back to me, if you can make your sentences have context so that when I read them out, I know it's not just... I used to have to do this when I was doing corporate videos for people, for testimonials. And they were asked questions, it was radio stations I did a lot of work for. And these would be the clients who advertise on the radio stations, and you'd say things like, "What was some of the advantages of advertising on the radio?" And they would just, there they are, and they would say things like, you wouldn't hear the questions in the edit, you see, and we would tell them, "Can you bring this back as a statement?" And you would say, "What was the advantage of advertising on the radio?" And they would just go, "Well, it gets to lots of people." Well, when you take that and you haven't got the question, it's meaningless. Just someone going, well, it gets to lots of people. It's like, well, what gets to lots of people? What people? Where, so having context would be great. Thank you very much. Because I haven't got the time to read the thread, unfortunately. At this moment in time, instead of now. Oh, right. Instead of now. Wait, so now what's wrong with now? Now, I'm talking about words that are rubbish, like well, not rubbish, that we've used now as a shortcut, I suppose, is what I'm getting at. I hate guesstimate. The combination of two words. Yes, I hate that. I hate those combinations of, like, what's the one about huge, something that's like humongous. I hate that. It's either huge or what's the other one? What's the other one that's there's lots of those. I hate that. I'm with you there. Should be wearing a mask. Shameful. Yes, I hate that. Shouldn't be wearing a mask is more to the point. I loathe hearing bless at the end of each sentence. Oh, yes, isn't that is... it is sometimes very difficult to know what to say when you're listening to someone and they're saying something and you want to show compassion. And I hear myself on here when I'm talking to people go, oh yeah, well, bless you for doing that. And I suppose what you're saying is, well, well done you, you're very brave or something. And bless you, they may not be religious, of course. They may have no inclination to any faith or whatever, and you're assuming something that isn't. And the fact that I don't even have a faith myself, that I'm blessing, it's sort of a very meaningless phrase altogether, isn't it? Pacific instead of specific. Yes, that's very good. Absolutely. Well done. I like that. I think I like my nose now. So, Sean Ford, marvellous. I'm so thrilled that you like your nose. The context of the message is that I'm trying to add context to this particular message. Excellent. Well done, Ed. Fantastic. The constant use of like in a sentence. Absolutely. Especially when they say something is like and there is nothing, they say that something's like it when they don't need to use the word like at all. It's like, well, that hill is so big, it's like a mountain. Well, I suppose actually, it is like a mountain. Actually, that's where it works perfectly fine, actually. Sorry. It's big like. What do you mean it's big like? That's where it, it's kind of big like, isn't it? It's like, what do you mean it's like? It's like? Well, it's either like it or it isn't like it. Oh, right, instead of I haven't a clue what you mean. Oh, yes. When I used to know a lady whose name I better not say really, but people who know me would be able to guess. When we're having a conversation, I wouldn't see this particular lady over a number of weeks, and we'd have a phone call, and then they would start talking, and you just say, so they might say, oh, well, I went to the office today, and there was this happening, and we had a big meeting about this, and I'd get on the phone going back to them going, right. What does that mean? Right. It's like, well, how do you know whether I'm right or not? I'm right with you. I understand what you're saying. I suppose you're just filling in the gaps. But sometimes where I don't make any response because I'm listening to them, I then get that reply of, well, are you listening? Hello? Are you there? I said, yes, I'm listening. I'm listening. Carry on. So it's so difficult to not be rude, isn't it? You're trying to navigate conversations using some of these words. It's fascinating. Starting off the answer to every question with so, and scientists on the radio, on the television, you get that all the time. So a presenter will ask a scientist about how prevalent is COVID in the under threes. So with the under threes, they are of a blah, 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 and blah. And you just think, you don't need to say so at the beginning or at the end. That's the other thing, is when people get to the end of the sentence and it drifts to nothing. And you've been asked to explain something and you're saying, well, the under threes, they're so young that it doesn't really make any difference how much COVID they get because they are pretty much immune. So what? So you haven't quite ended your sentence. I hate it when they don't end their sentence. I'm mad, really mad, when in fact they're not mad at all, says Mark Donny McLeod. Yes, very good. I'm not keen on the word but because it kind of removes whatever you've said before. I'm sorry, but... Yes, that's kind of true. Kind of. I hate the words kind of and sort of in the middle of a sentence unless you're actually making a comparison. If you're not making a comparison, I find myself doing it, and I find that so irritating because everybody does it. It's become common parlance. Regional dialect is always listening to hear, absolutely. What about very unique? Yes, how can you be very unique? It's either unique or it isn't. There's no degree. It is like black. It's a sort of black. What do you mean sort of black? It's either black or it isn't black. If it's not black, it's grey, and then it's a degree of grey. He was sort of dead. What do you mean sort of dead? He was either dead or he wasn't dead. You know, some of these words are... What is the term? Some of these words are... complete, aren't they? They are what they are. There's no round to it. This morning, this moment in time, tautology, where else would a moment be? Oh, yes, this moment in time. Where else? Yes, I've said this before, but these things where you say you get a free gift. Well, a gift generally is free, isn't it? Otherwise, it wouldn't be a gift. So that's... And a special prize? Isn't a prize special? If it's not special, what is it? It's not a special prize. Really? I thought the fact that it's a prize, it makes it special, surely. That's how I would have seen it. Language changes, people use different modes. Surely it's the message that matters more, says Vincent Quill. It is, I know, but it's lovely to be a bit pedantic occasionally with language, is it not? Picturesque, ding, says Michael White. Speak, says Nootka Seaglass. Speak, how do you mean speak? Should have instead of what, could have, would have. Hun, I will have my say. You could be Veronique. Yes, a bit pregnant. Oh, yes, a bit pregnant. The lovely Julia is back. Let's see if she is a bit pregnant. Are you a bit pregnant or are you just pregnant?
Well, I'm neither, actually.
So you're neither pregnant or either, but that's it. You can't be... In other words, we were just talking about the crazies. You can't be a bit pregnant. How much? I've only got a bit of a baby. I've got a leg and a head.
I have had someone say that to me before, though. Excuse me while I look off screen. I'm just adjusting my camera a little bit if I can.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, so yeah, people say, "Oh, yeah, you're a bit pregnant, are you?"
Yeah. I hadn't seen this guy for months and months and months. In fact, I think it had been about a year and a half. And then I was pregnant with Elijah. I think I was about 6 months pregnant as well, and I was really, really showing. He was like, "Oh my God, you're pregnant!" No, that's right. I said, "Oh yeah, and I'm pregnant." That's what else I've been up to. He was like, "Oh my God, you are. You're not even a bit pregnant either." And I was like, "No, I don't think you can be a bit pregnant."
Can't be a bit pregnant.
You either are or you're not.
We got some great ones. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for all your wonderful words and things. Nootka says, reach out instead of email. Oh, I cannot bear. You're right, reach out. I thought I'd reach out to you. And it's like, and it's like, I'm doing it now. Reach out to you. It's such a physical thing. I find that difficult.
Yeah.
Mail me. I don't like that either. I'd rather you said email me or write me a letter.
Who was it who said like? Because
I can't remember who said it now, but I find myself saying these things, and it irritates me.
Who say like every other word is like, it's like like.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and of course, younger people are more prone to it, I suppose. Because they are still learning the language, and perhaps they don't read very much other than in Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, where you're continually cutting what's said into smaller chunks so that you have no way to express yourself, perhaps using a fuller vocabulary. Would instead of would have. Yes, that's a good one.
Has anyone said going forward?
I mean, corporate terms, these corporate speak, customer facing, going forward. Well, it's like, that's, why don't you just say in the future? In the
What about,
future.
don't get me wrong.
Don't get me wrong. What? Yeah, don't misunderstand me.
Not being funny.
Not being funny. Yeah, it's funny when that is a peculiar one, isn't it? Not being funny. I mean, not being funny,
but that's sorry. Not being
and
funny,
and then you think, but that's not even. I can't misunderstand what you're saying as being funny anyway. And what they next, when people say not being funny, but I don't like the colour of his hair, you think, well, that's not even misinterpreted to be funny. That's not even a comedy joke.
Yeah.
Not being funny. Well, I didn't think you were being funny. At what point did I think for one moment you were being funny when you insulted that person over there? At the end of the day. Oh, yes. At the end of the day, it gets dark.
Yeah.
That's what I always like to say.
Any of these words or phrases don't bother me if they're said once in a blue moon, but when they're used every conversation or every other sentence or even every other word, it's just...
Yes. My bugbear, and of course it's a lot of people's bugbear, is literally, and although now it's in the English language to be allowed to mean emphasis rather than what it actually means, which is a perfectly good word to describe when you, for example, bump into someone. I literally bumped into them. What you actually physically knocked them. Yes, that's what I mean, as opposed to I literally bumped into them, meaning that I just want to emphasize the fact that I met somebody. And I find that incredibly frustrating because of the ignorance involved, I suppose. But then I'm bloody ignorant a lot of the time myself.
I had to train myself out of using literally because of you.
And the thing is, sometimes you can hear these people when you're aware of the words that you use yourself, and then, as you say, you train yourself to not use them. You start to hear how many other people use them without thinking as part of their language. Once in a blue moon. Now that's a sentence I like, says Andrew Norris. Yes, I don't mind that once in a blue moon, because you're not...
Now you're saying it a lot.
Because it's not something that you use continually, I suppose.
Most people don't know what that means anymore either, but it was literally to do with the moon, because there's a period where it's called a blue moon. I can't remember what it...
Well, I think there's so many of these phrases, people have no concept of the original nature of them. Correct me if I am right or wrong, says David. A friend says, correct me if I'm right or wrong. well, wait a minute. You can't correct you if you're right. I'm ever so sorry. You were right then. I need to correct you. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong is fair enough. You're saying I don't know anything about this particular subject, or I might have made a mistake. But you can't say, that's hilarious, correct me if I'm right or wrong. It's like, well, why would I correct you if you're right? That's the most ludicrous. Oh, I love it. I'm under the doctor. What does that mean? We don't say I'm under the accountant, do we? Unless, of course, your husband or wife happens to be in that profession. Yes, I'm under the doctor. Maybe that comes from I'm under doctor's orders. That might be where that stems from. And then it gets I'm under the doctor.
Vincent Quill says it's when people get the originals wrong. It's dog life. Dog eat dog is the original one.
Oh, yes.
Actually, that being said, you say on the spare of the moment, where I've always known it as on the spur of the moment.
On the spur of the moment.
On the urge of the moment.
Yes, on the spur of that is correct. But I say on the spare of the moment.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
Oh, right.
That's what you're actually sending from your brain to your mouth.
Yeah, well, maybe you've picked, I mean, knowing you, and you're quite a...
pedant?
Yes, yes, you're
I
very...
try not to be.
No, this is not an insult. But you have made me aware of a number of the things, by actually just telling me the things that I have acquired wrongly, on phrases that I like on the spare of the moment, or instead of on the spur of the moment, that people do pick these things up and they don't know them. And unless somebody corrects you and says, oh, actually, it's not what's the retrobates? It's not retrobates. It's
No, reprobate.
reprobates.
Yeah.
And you go, is that what I say? Is I say because sometimes we don't even know what we say. And I do have a lot of strange vobisms. And thanks to Julia, she actually has the guts to say them to me and say, by the way, you've just said such and such. I said, no.
Well, once you pointed out literally, and don't get me wrong, I was like, right,
yeah,
okay.
That is a license to print money, isn't it?
Well, Andrew Norris said, no, Julia, it is when 2 full moons occur within the same month. That's a blue moon. So, and that doesn't happen very often, does it, Andrew?
So there we are.
Thank you for putting me right there.
I'm not bald. I'm just hairless. Let's crunch the numbers. That was Terry Banton and Steve Baker. Thanks for those. He's been saying it for years. Yes, I know. Political correctness really rankles, says Robert Croser. It's that political correctness and things like that goes down to people taking offence. You can take offence. You don't give offence, because how do you know when you're being offensive unless you're deliberately with a group of people who you know what you're going to say will be offensive to? But people take offence, don't they? That you can hear someone say, I don't know, something about that's a nice car, or that car should be that car should be put in a museum. Now that might be a positive statement, or it could be a negative statement. That car should be put in a museum, and somebody might take offence. But you're not giving offence by saying that. It could be taken either way. So people take offence. I think political correctness is a bit of that as well. We're all desperately trying not to offend anybody.
I mean, yeah, I know political correctness does go a bit mad, but in some ways I do like that we are now forced to think about the words we use, because, I mean, I'm going to say this word, and I know people are going to be offended by it probably, but retard. I used to use it a little bit more flippantly, saying, oh, I'm a retard, and make stupid faces. And then someone, a close friend who I hadn't realised, she had people who, she had friends, not friends, she had people in her family who are classed as retarded. That's not the medical term used anymore. But yeah, I don't do that anymore.
Well, like the word spastic.
And things like that. Yes, exactly like that.
I mean, spastic was a perfectly acceptable term.
Well, both are engineering terms as well.
Well, there we go.
But to refer to a person like that isn't...
I mean, you had the Spastic Society, for goodness sake. I mean, now they're called Scope, but they used to be the charity, the Spastic Society. And, of course, it's a word that has a great onomatopoeia quality to it. It's when used... Yeah, but onomatopoeia really means that it sounds like what it is. So splat, something hits with splat. Boom.
Bang.
Yes, exactly.
Wallet.
But so I'm using onomatopoeia in a way that if you're using it as a term of abuse, it's because of the hard consonants in it. Spastic. It can sound but it can sound very abusive and rather horrible and very derogatory.
Yeah.
Have I said derogatory correctly? Because I used to say that wrong.
Yes, you did say it correctly.
Thank you. I had to think about that one. But now you just I don't know what the clinical person is who used to be a spastic with whatever that condition is.
Stop it, please.
I know, but what is it? What is somebody who would have spasticism? Whatever.
There are all sorts of medical conditions and
right.
that would leave people in that manner, but I'm feeling really uncomfortable talking about it now.
Yes. I mean, but the thing is, there are people like me who grew up with that being an everyday word. And it wasn't, and not only was it an everyday word, it wasn't an insult. Yes, it could be used as an insult, as we did at primary school, and would say to, you're a, whatever, you're a plastic thing, with an S in front of it. But so there's some of us who still think of it as a word that's just changed. That would, like Eskimo, Eskimo to most people does not have a connotation of anything other than people in furs that eat fish up on the North Pole.
The trouble is, most of the time, unless the word directly affects you, then you don't think about it or
Yes,
but
exactly. But part of
it's
that
nice
is
that we're now thinking about words and hopefully being more careful about what we use and how we use them.
yes, that's true. But in the conversation that we have had, and I have used that word that rhymes with plastic, and even other terms like you said with retard, that rhymes with hard. In that conversation, we are not being rude to anybody or to people who suffer from that condition, are we? Not in this conversation. We're not saying to somebody, you are a, and therefore using it as an insult. We're discussing around it. So that's where I think the fact that if you can't have a conversation like we're having about words, where we're debating those words, because it's un-PC even to have a conversation about it, I think that's where it gets a little bit wrong. Because you can't shut down conversation because you don't want to hear certain things. You can walk away from those, and it shouldn't be inflicted on you, but you should be able to have a debate about these things, as long as you're not actually using them to give that offence on purpose.
Bonnie to Holland says Bonnie Holland, says Red Indians is no longer acceptable. Yeah, they're Native Americans. That was just, wasn't it what they were referred to because they thought they'd landed in India or something like that?
I don't know. I mean, I remember just being a kid, and I don't know now if it's offensive for children to run around going, oh, la, 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 in a game of cowboys and Indians. Can you?
I don't know many kids that actually play that anymore anyway.
No, but maybe not. They don't watch films on the Wild West like they used to when I was a kid, and so they'd go out and shoot the...
I think you're thinking of when, for example, say a magazine will decide to do an American, a Native American themed shoot, and they're not actually using the knowledge or any of the culture correctly. They're just using it as an image to give this feel, and that's cultural appropriation. Now that does the words cultural appropriation does tend to be taken to the extreme sometimes. For example,
so if you went over to a Native American place, and there they are with a magazine that they've just produced, and there's a whole bunch of them.
That's different because that's them using their culture.
No, yeah, hang on, I hadn't finished. So there they are. They've got this magazine, or they're making a video or a film, and they're depicting English people in bowler hats and pinstripe jackets and umbrellas.
I get what you're saying.
Would that be culture misappropriation?
Well, yes, it would, but we wouldn't have a problem with it because
why? Yeah. So why?
Why? Because the Native Americans have been persecuted and still are to this day. It's a very sore subject on many cases. So that's why it's.
So are you saying that it then you have to have been persecuted for you then to not have your image mucked about with? So if I went over there and there were some Native Americans dressed up as Englishmen doing a play with bowler hats and pinstripe suits and umbrellas and going, I say, old chap, have you been down to the bank recently? No, I'm in my little teepee having a party. Whatever. I would just find it jolly fun. I wouldn't be. But why? Why? Because of what happened in the past, should that make the blind bit of difference? Surely I would have thought that if you dressed up as a Native American,
it's a lack of understanding.
Yes, but hang on. But if you dressed up as a Native American, you at least, in order to try and dress up as a Native American, would be thinking, oh, this is what they wear. You'd be learning a little bit about their culture, would you not? By going, especially if someone's going,
no,
you've got the hair.
Put headdress on, but it doesn't mean anything because you haven't earned that.
But does that matter? Does it? Do you have to earn it? If somebody over there wears a bowler hat, do I give a monkey's cuss?
I don't know.
You see, I sometimes think this gets turned round so that we're always the bad people. If we celebrate,
I'm not saying us. It's
No,
not
no, no.
us.
I'm not saying us as individuals. I'm just saying people in
I'm
the
not even
West.
saying the British.
No, but I'm just saying that all the people, if you like Halloween, I think it is it, where people dress up and they might dress up as Pocahontas, and all of a sudden, oh no, you can't, you're not allowed to do that unless you're the Red Indian. Oh, sorry, a Native American. And then you might say, well, actually, you can't dress up unless you come from that particular reserve, because you'd be mucking about with those people's, it just becomes absurd, doesn't it? What are people saying? They're disagreeing with it. No doubt they will be.
John Clark says it's all PC trash, doesn't mean anything. I'm looking for anything that's relevant.
Richard, now the English are being persecuted, says Michael White. Yes, it doesn't matter if we get persecuted. Ed Loud says, actually, I do take issue with English culture appropriation and often try to correct it where I'm chatting online. People forget England is a conquered nation itself. That's true. We were conquered by the Normans and the Romans. But I went to America. Down to San Antonio, Texas in 2006. We were taken to an English bar, went in there. The phone box was about 3 times the size of a phone box. It was massively huge. We laughed. We just thought it was hilarious. But then because we remembered Americans are much bigger than us, they wouldn't be able to get into our phone boxes. So that became a humorous point. Then they said, would you like a Guinness? We said, oh, yes, please, have a Guinness. That's very kind of you. So they got this Guinness, an Irish Guinness, and there they were pouring it from the tap like this, turned the tap on, and the jet of beer goes straight from the top, of course, causing 90% foam and no beer. And then... so no tilting of the glass as you would, to pour out a beer. Then he gets a silver scoop and scoops out the head. And we're going, what are you doing? He says, oh, well, this is how we've been taught that British beer is. You just think, no, mate, it's not like that at all. But I wasn't upset or, I found it hilarious that they had London, SW1, what do you call them, postcode signs on the walls. But what they got them completely wrong. So instead of SW1, they'd have something like BW4, of which probably doesn't even exist. It was like, hang on a minute, these aren't London postcodes even. There were so many things wrong that the Americans just thought, hey, it's great, we're in England here. But it's like, no, you're not. But I laughed. I thought it was hilarious. But I was touched that they'd made the effort. That's all I'm saying, is that I think it's bizarre.
Henry's Adventures says, when I was at uni, we had a bad taste party. You had to dress up as something offensive. There were Hitlers, the Taliban, Jimmy Saviles, and lemons everywhere.
And who would... Yeah.
What's offensive about lemons? Just curious. No, maybe I don't want to know.
And that would be, if you knew that's what you're going to, if that's the theme of the event, then who's going to be offended? The whole point was to be who could be more offensive. I can actually see that, and you go, yeah, I've dressed up as Moira Hindley. All right, fair enough.
Myra Hindley?
Myra Hindley, yeah. Myra Hindley, and the one whose suitcases they are refusing to open that might lead them to the last of the poor little chap who's buried on the moors. It's a terrible thing. But if you were going to a party and somebody came as Brady, that's right, Ian Brady and Myra Hindley, and they turned up and but if you knew it was a bad taste party, you would go, okay, that is bad taste, but you get, the context is everything. Again, San Antonio has many British expatriates, likewise Houston, Dallas and Fort Worth, says Alan Sandell. Well, there we are. Yes, absolutely. It was just fun that I just thought it was hilarious. They got it all it's just so wrong, but it was funny. Moira Anderson, says Dave. Moira Anderson?
I don't know who the Moira Anderson is.
No, I don't know that one.
Just curious, have we got any videos today?
Yes, we do. We have 5 videos. How are we doing? I suppose we could show some. Yes, I know. We're just having a bit of fun, though. People get upset about everything nowadays. The Goon Show was great. Yes, I'm getting rid of my donkey onesie. Might offer it to a donkey, says
might offend a donkey, he said. Henry's Adventure says nothing offensive about a lemon. They are literally a bad taste.
No, they're not a bad taste. I love lemons.
I love lemons too.
I love lemons. But there we go. Anyway, yes, you're right. We better show a video. So we had 2 videos left over from last time. You may remember on Wednesday's show, which was one from the lovely Andrew Norris, one from Colonel Craig Ratty. We also have in tonight's show, we have a video from Bernie. We also have one from... can't read my own writing. Oh, Roy. And Roy, it's a bit of a long one. For the show, bit long. I was debating whether to ask you to cut it down or not, so we'll see how well we're doing for time. And one from Nikki. So let's go into the video thing and see what's in there. So I think, first of all, we better start with one of them from last time. Now, this is from Andrew Norris, and it's very short. And it's really, as his email, I haven't got his email in front of me, which is a bit of a shame, but he was recording for some time members of the village where he has his house in Croatia, and he'd been filming a whole load of the characters, and before a lot of them died and passed away and the traditions disappeared, and he's got them all on video, which is amazing. But one of the traditions they had, from what I understand, is, and Andrew can correct me if I'm right or wrong, is that they would sing as the cows come out after the winter into the spring. I think that's what he said when I spoke to him on WhatsApp earlier in the week. And he's recorded this lovely lady who sings, but it's a very, very short piece. So let's watch it and see what we make of it. And if I've completely balls that up, Andrew, I do apologise.
Oj Vukovlje naše, ti si naša dika, lepše si nam negdje Amerika, haj, haj.
As I said, it was very short, but I gather that's what they sing when they let the cows out into the fields. But apparently that's what they would do quite a lot of. I don't know whether we Brits over here did anything like that when we, in the old days, used to bring out your dead. Bring out the cows or anything like that. But and do check out Andrew's YouTube channel, because there's a lot more of the villagers doing their traditional stuff. It's absolutely fascinating. And what was fascinating for me to see is in one of them, they're ploughing a field in the old-fashioned way with, I can't remember where they're horses now. I think they're horses and oxen. And you see, hand ploughing going on, and how difficult it is. It's a skill. Sorry, I'm all tangled up with this why I don't need this for the moment. Fantastic stuff. Thank you so much. Right, Colonel Craig Ratty has been mountain climbing. I think this is, if I've got this right, Pete, you were in Scotland, and it's another one of these clambering up with the camera on the top of his on the GoPro there. So let's take ourselves on fly on the wall, quite literally on the wall.
Alice, did you enjoy the episode? that a forgotten twin above us? It's hard to tell it. I think that might be forgotten twin or something. What we did last year, 2 years ago.
Well, there you go. That looks like hard work to me, on your hands and knees, clambering up with ice. I presume they're ice axes, are they, going in there? Great stuff. Thanks very much for giving us a literal fly on the wall. That's superb. Well, oh, sorry, I've just lost you, Julia. There she is.
Hello.
Yeah.
Sorry, Andrew Norris said he'd phone in and
Yes.
make corrections to the commentary and explain the songs a bit further.
Yeah, no, Andrew, do please do give us a call. It would be lovely to hear you. Sorry if I, completely cocked it up as ever. It's easily done. Henry's Adventure says, I looked up the village where Andrew Norris lives and I hear they plan to build Croatia's version of High Speed 2 from Zagreb to, I don't know how you pronounce the other one, Reepham, under the village. If that, is it going along? We'll have to ask Andrew if he gives us a tinkle onto the old Vobie One-Eyed Kenobi Shobi. I did put the phone on, so, you might want the phone number, I suppose, on the screen. That can, that's the wrong button.
Could be helpful.
Yeah, it could be helpful. There we go. 07934746790 is the number. Very impressive. What a great video. Vertigo inducing video. Yes, I know.
Another.
Another one.
Yeah, grateful for it though. It was lovely to watch.
Sprapsolutely. Yes. Well, just waiting for Mr. Norris to ring in. I don't want to put another video on in case. He says, give me the number then, Richard, please. Yes, 0793 4746 790. It is on the screen. I wish HS2 would bog off, says Robert Baxter. Yes, I would wish it would. I don't really know.
At a high speed.
I don't have any great faith in it personally. Anyway, we're all going to get these electric cars, apparently. Here we go. We believe that is Andrew Norris calling in. Hello, Andrew.
What ho, what ho.
What ho. So there we are. I ballsed it up, didn't I?
Yes, you did, I'm afraid.
Yeah, okay.
No,
well,
this is what...
It was a few days ago when we chatted, and I haven't got the email in front of me. So
Yes, yeah. Never mind. These are songs that people would sing every morning, every evening. They put their cattle to pasture twice a day before school, and then in the evening after they came home to their homework, they'll be back out into the fields again. But I've been looking... I'm going to be sending you 4 more songs, short songs, which I recorded, mostly from my neighbour Mara, who's sadly no longer with us. And she was the last person in the village that I could coax to sing. I mean, she was quite a willing participant. Now she's gone. You won't hear these songs anymore. But what is so remarkable about these songs is that I was doing some research when I was at my faculty and more recently about a man called Milman Parry, who traveled around Yugoslavia in the early 1930s, recording epic poetry and recording it. And he had a theory that he wanted to understand how the epic poems like the Iliad and the Odyssey survived through the oral tradition. And he made a comparison with a lot of the epic poetry that he recorded in Yugoslavia back in the 30s. And he discovered two traits which helped with remembering, how people remembered long poems. There were certain stock phrases or episodes in the life of a person which would be repeated. And between these episodes, the performer would be able to go off and elaborate, exaggerate, or invent their own details. For example, if there's a banquet, they would go into long episodes describing the table, what was on the food, and who was there. But there were two things that he noticed. One was that these poems were often in rhyming couplets, and that each line had 10 syllables per line, which is a very nice kind of rhythmic structure. And this is back in the 30s. And when I recorded some of the songs in the village, including the one that you played this evening, it's exactly the same structure. Rhyming couplets and 10 syllables.
Right.
So this tradition has been going back thousands of years.
So if you taught, if you were able to teach kids this way of learning things, they could learn their lessons and be able to remember them, wouldn't they? When it comes to the exam, they'd just be sitting there going,
recited in rhyming couplets.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting. I mean, I've discovered I identified two different types of song. There was the popular songs which people knew with the verse and chorus, or a verse with a rhyming, with a kind of refrain at the end. And I think I'm going to be sending you an example of that. But the one I sent you this evening was a spontaneous song that people would just sing, as and when the mood took.
So that was, I mean, it was very, very short because it was effectively one line.
2 sentences.
Yeah, two sentences.
Yeah. I mean, these songs did tend to be short because they were just sung out in the meadow by children. But again, this notion of a stock phrase on which the performer would embellish or change. What I sent you was, although it's just 2 lines, Bukovlia, you are our pride and glory, we love you more than the whole of America. Anybody could have sung that and just substituted the name of their village.
Yes, so but why was it that we love you more than America? What was that? What was that reference to?
Well, it's because people had great pride in their own village.
Yes, no, I mean,
kind of community.
I got that bit. I got back that. I was just thinking, why pick out America as opposed to anywhere else?
Because it probably rhymed.
I see.
With the first part of the sentence.
Right. Oh, okay. Yes. No, I didn't know whether they were twinned with America or had dealings.
No.
I didn't know if there was a political thing to it. Sorry, not at all.
Not at all. I mean, it's the sense of a small village as opposed to this vast, huge continent.
Yes, absolutely. Okay.
Yeah, everything that we could possibly want, we can find in the village.
Yeah,
we don't need
the might of a big country. Yeah, no, I didn't know. Yeah. Because you showed the cake at the end.
Oh, well, this is because for about the past 7-8 years now, because of my films, a genealogist in America who comes to Croatia every year and takes people searching for their family roots around all the popular cities, Zagreb and Dubrovnik. And then they go to do some research in the National Library in Zagreb. But he's now, for the past 8 years, they've been stopping off in our village. And it's the only place where they get an authentic feel of how their ancestors lived.
Right.
So we get these coachloads of lovely American people coming to search their family. They stop off in the village, they're greeted with a band performing, they get a performance with them dancing, and then they have a banquet in the fire station on the first floor. And it's all really, really nice. And I've done films about this. And, people, when they get the itinerary, they can never quite understand, why are we going to this obscure little village?
Yes.
What is there for us? But it's only, when they arrive and, throughout the day, because I'm talking to everybody, And they really feel that they're coming home, that they feel a connection with how their ancestors lived. And for many of them, that is the highlight of their week, 2-week, 10-day trip.
Right. Yeah.
It's really touching.
Absolutely.
Yeah, really touching.
Absolutely. And what a way to get in touch, as you say, with the way their ancestors would have been.
Yeah.
And amazing, really, that in this day and age, we're so close to that way of life.
Yeah. Well, yes. Yeah.
I just wanted to read out one thing that Mark Donny MacLeod said regarding the rhyming couplets. He says, interesting, it has the same path of rhyming couplets in religious music and choral song. I read about in music history, a cardinal in 1460s tried to write down in an early form of notation, presumably the rhyming couplets. So that's it's fascinating.
That is fascinating. Yeah.
Gosh.
And just to answer one question that Henry posed about this express train line, it's not coming from Zagreb, but it's coming from Europe.
Oh, is it?
Down to Rijeka, which is a port on the Adriatic.
So it's not bursting through your village and going to destroy the world, the peace.
It's touching the edge of the village on the other side because it's much more undulating there.
Right.
But they're going to have maybe 5 stations between, I don't know, wherever it is in Europe and the port, Rijeka. And one of the stations is going to be adjacent to our village.
Oh, is it? So you can get across, you could get back to Europe quite nice and easy. Can you get back to London then? Or Sussex?
Probably, but I wouldn't go that way, no.
No, too long.
No, I think it's going to have a terrible effect on the environment.
Yes,
but,
well, same
you
as
can't stop it stand in the way of progress.
No,
progress.
Well, depends what you just
That's
define.
a word I don't like.
Yes, I don't like it's progress.
Yeah.
Well, I always think, what are we progressing to?
I know. Yeah.
And nobody ever can answer me that. A better lifestyle, a better lifestyle. But is it better?
Well, that's a good question. It would
Obviously,
take
some things are
a long time to answer. But anyway, I hope I managed to answer a few questions for
yes. Thank you for that.
people.
I
Not
appreciate
at all.
that.
So expect 4 more as and when, soon enough. But you have some more videos to show, so I'll let you get on with them.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Andrew.
All right, matey. Okay. Thanks, Julia. Thanks, Richard.
Take care.
Bye.
Look after
Bye.
yourself.
Yes, you too. Bye.
Bye.
I do you. Bye.
Yeah, brilliant. So there we go. That was Andrew. Sorry if it was a bit muffled. I can't do anything about the phone lines. I can do the best I can in the studio with all of that. But when it's an outside call, obviously we're in the lap of the telephony of the world. Right, we do have 2 more videos and 3. Hang on, we played in 2. We got 3, haven't we? So let us have a look at what Nikki is up to. I just want to clear the phone number from the screen if I can remember how to do it.
Oh, my chin feels there.
Does it feel less restricted?
Again.
Yeah, sorry about that. It was
Keeping me warm.
wrapped around with a little bit of purple numbering. So yeah, we're back over to Norfolk, and Nootka Seaglass is at Reepham, which has an interesting thing to do with the church. Press the button. No. And I've got the wrong video playing. Hang on, bear with me. I've got to get back into turn that one off. Here we go. That wasn't Reepham. That was a mountain with snow on. This is Reepham.
Today we're at Reepham, and you can see at the top of the sign 3 churches, which it's one of only 2 places in Europe to have 3 churches on one site.
And there we go, another beautiful Norfolk village there, Reepham. Interesting with the three churches, or the remains of three churches, or remains of two of them. One still clearly standing very well, with a lovely tower, I have to say. Very beautiful tower there in Reepham. Julia's just disappeared for the moment, so we're just looking at a horse. But that's okay. Lots of interesting comments. Let me come out of that just for a second. Now, I've got two more videos, and time is ticking on, mainly because we had such a jolly old conversation about the inappropriate words and things. Julie says, I went on holiday in Norfolk after seeing your videos. Oh, there we go. And did you make any videos of your own, Judith, to share with us? Leonard Smith says, I presume everybody is aware that HS2 will be planting 7 million trees during its construction. I didn't know that. That's interesting. What kind of trees? Where will they be? Obviously, you can't replace ancient trees or wildwood, classic, what do they call it? Ancient trees, wildwood. There's a term, isn't there? There's a term if it's past 1600. I think I don't know whether you can call it ancient if it's after 1600, because it's not really ancient, is it? But quite mature. Merit genealogy is there. Aloe over, call out a knife. That's not a knife. And I'm not anti-trees, says Henry's Adventures, but sadly they do have to be cut down from time to time. And of course, if they have to be cut down and there's any spare branches going that they don't need, can they send them to me and I can burn them in my essay? Blessy, ancient forest. Yes, it's funny. How do they call it an ancient forest if it only goes back to what is it, 400 years, 500 years? That is a bit barking. We've got the lovely Julia there. Hello, Julia.
Hello.
Good to see you back. Yeah, we just that people would know there was a bit of a discussion going on in the chat area about HS2.
Trees having to come down for bloody HS2.
Yes.
And yes, every tree matters, and it does matter.
Edward Moulding.
Nothing anyone says is going to change my mind on that.
No, of course. No one's trying to change your mind. Leonard Smith, I just read out, says he presumes that everybody knows that HS2 are planning to plant 7 million trees during its construction. My only question is where and what type of trees? It's all very well saying you're going to plant 7 million trees, but define your tree first. You're not going to be planting ancient oaks, are you?
No, I was going to say, for every mature tree cut down, you'd need at least 100 smaller trees to even remotely reach the same sort of sustenance that one mature tree can provide. It's just not practical. We can't keep cutting trees down at a rate faster than they're growing.
Yeah, so we're not going to shoot the messenger. So Leonard also then says a total of 7 million new trees, a mix of oak, okay, that's good, hazel, dogwood, and holly are being planted to compensate for the loss of woodland as part of the HS2 program. I mean, I think that's great. It's great that they're doing that. People should be doing that anyway, planting many more trees. But I would be interested to know how, because some people may say, oh, well, we're planting trees, and you find out what they actually mean. They planted 1 million trees, but they're just on the banks of the motorway.
And they don't get looked after, and they therefore don't.
Yeah, so A, they're getting polluted. B, you can't walk through them because they're on the slopes of... I'm not saying that's what's going to happen on HS2. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that... But those are... statistics are just that. They are statistics. It doesn't necessarily mean that what you've actually got there is, I don't know, a 10, 20, 30 acre field that has quite a number of trees in it that actually will develop over the next 100 years into something which will give a home to wildlife and all that. But it may be. So I don't know, unless one knows what the statistics are. So we're not shooting the messenger. That's what the point is. Thank you, Leonard, for saying.
Linda Kane says, yes, but we need the benefits of mature trees now. I wholly agree with that one.
Yes, I mean, I'm anti the trees being knocked down or sort of cut down anyway. And as compensation, it's great that they're going to do the 7 million trees. I think that's a nice compensation. But I would rather they weren't knocking the trees, not knocking them, taking them down. And why have they got to go through them? Why can't they go round them?
Henry's Adventure says, why did no one make a fuss about motorways or new roads, with the exception of the Newbury bypass, of course? Well, it's because generally most people just don't have that connection
Well,
to trees anymore.
yes,
We
but
used to rely on trees for shoes, for clothing, for shelter, for food.
But you've got to
so much.
remember when the motorways were being put in, you didn't have the internet. People weren't quite so connected. People couldn't voice their opinions in quite the same way. And there probably were little protests, but a lot of people didn't know. And so I can't imagine that there wasn't any protest. But you need if the main, back then you're talking about 4 channels on the telly. When the motorways, when the M1 came in, whenever that was in the late 50s, was it? You're talking about BBC One and BBC Two. So if the mainstream media didn't tell you, you may not have known about it unless you lived in the area. You may have had some vague notion. People weren't travelling in anything like the way they are now. And also they weren't as connected or could share news. So because they didn't, doesn't mean to say they wouldn't have.
They've already planted 350,000 trees, and not one round has been laid yet. But let's move on. No, 350,000 trees. Yet saplings. Do not replace mature trees. How can I impress that upon anybody? We need these trees. These are terraformers. Without enough trees on this planet, life on Earth will perish. That's all there is to it. And I know it's not going to happen suddenly, but that's where we're headed, and it's close to my heart. So
I mean, because what another aspect to think about that is if you cut down a mature oak that has 400 different species that's depending on that for its existence, from bugs to birds to mammals to fungus and all of that. According to, I think it may even be 650. I may have got the numbers wrong, but let's err to the lowest number, which is 400. According to Oliver Rackham, who was a leading ecologist who's no longer with us, but I've read he's written about 4 or 5 books. I've read about 3 of his books on trees and woodland, and your average mature oak, as an example, has somewhere in the region, I can't remember exactly what the figure is, it's something like 4 to 650 individual species that live over the period of that tree, on that tree at any one time, or not at any one time, but it's so a sapling may do that in due course. But if you're knocking down thousands of trees now, then there's a whole plethora of wildlife that has suddenly no longer got those trees to live on, and will presumably just die out. Now, you could just argue, well, tough, there's plenty of other bugs and things on another tree, but it's not their fault. But I want to know why we have to go through these ancient, if there was a building in the way, if there was Sainsbury's in the way, or if there was an ancient monument in the way. They're not going to move Stonehenge, and I bet you they probably wouldn't move a Sainsbury's, but they're quite happy to go through an ancient monument. An ancient woodland. Well, I think the woodland should have the same status as your Stonehenge, that you go, well, you can't, sorry, that is just sacrosanct. You can't go, you've got to go around it, or under it, or, over it, or something. But you can't go, like you wouldn't just go, well, we'll move Stonehenge over a bit, or we'll just plough through it. I think that's the status that ancient woods ought to have. If it's a very young wood, and if it's a pine wood, I wouldn't give a monkeys about. I'm sorry. Pine, I'm not a great lover of pine, seeing as most of them were planted in the last 100 years and were there for different reasons. And pine actually has something like 150 to 200 species per pine tree growing on it. The comparison Oliver Rackham did.
Not as many.
Not as many.
But they are still important.
Yes, they are. I mean, they are native, but they're more native. They were back in the Neolithic times everywhere, but then it was a different climate. They demolished over 60 million houses in Scotland when they reopened the railway to Tweedbank, did they? I wouldn't want to be in one of those houses then. It's a very contentious subject. I don't know enough to argue. I'll be honest. I'm arguing in favour of trees and the land, but I haven't seen the pros and the cons, and I really don't like to put my neck out and just say, well, it's all wrong for the sake of it. I do like to know the other argument. When we started doing these live shows, we had somebody who's since disappeared wanted me to give an opinion on fracking. on the show, and she kept coming into the show and said, "Richard, what do you think about fracking? Here's a video of somebody talking about fracking." And I said, "Look, I can't tell you whether I think it's good or bad because I don't know enough about the subject on either side. I know the perception is that it's bad, and that's the perception from a lot of people. But on the other hand, presumably it has, good things because it made us independent with a certain amount of oil and stuff. But I don't know enough about both sides to actually say yay or nay. So I don't like to get cornered. It's only when Julia is very passionate about this, and so she has every right to say what she says. But I'm not. I'm passionate about trees, and I don't want them to be cut down. But I don't know the other side of the story. So, that's. But in principle,
people always say, "Oh, but there's a need for this." Well, yeah, but our long-term need is that we need trees. Nothing really should supersede that. And I totally agree. Our ancient woodlands should be sacred, basically. But
yes, I don't see any reason why they shouldn't be as sacrosanct as Stonehenge and ancient monuments. If they have survived 400 or 500 years intact and have a habitat, I just think that is enough reason to say you can't go through it, because you wouldn't do it through Stonehenge or other henges. You just wouldn't do it. So you would have to think of something else and go through somebody else's land. Regardless of how many trees. There we are. Look, and Alan Sandell, HS2 planted 10,000 trees, then didn't water them.
Yep, they let them die because it's cheaper to let them die and plant new ones if they need to, which I doubt they did anyway. Yes. That's the problem. It's all very well planting these saplings, but then you've got to look after them for at least 30 years. And a lot of trees don't actually mature to reproduce for at least 80 years in some of the bigger trees like oak trees and things like that. So we're in deficit for 80 years. That doesn't make sense.
Bonnie says
it's not.
Sorry. Yeah, no, you're quite right. Bonnie says that after the 1987 storm, which I remember vividly, lots of trees were planted. Yes, quite rightly so, because lots of trees were fallen down. Poor old Chantonbury Ring was completely wrecked as a result of that. Jeff Harrison has just arrived. It's a bit late, but not to worry. Nuka says, she's talking to Sean. Ed Loud says, thank goodness the woods near me were saved back in the 90s by the threat of civil disobedience. They moved the cenotaph in Manchester to build a tram line. Did they? I didn't know that. That's interesting. I guess it's easier to move a cenotaph.
One single thing like that.
Yes, one single thing like that. But which, of course, the cenotaph is a fairly recent thing, is it? It's not like Stonehenge. That would be or
an ancient woodland.
Yeah, or an ancient woodland, exactly.
But, even if we just started looking into, the Japanese do this, where they, I think it's the Japanese, they can actually transport, translocate, I don't know the correct term for it, a whole tree, Obviously, some of the roots have to be cut. They retain enough that it can carry on in the new in the new location. So, that's something to look at if we must move the trees. But I really, really wish that we as a nation would just hold on to the trees and, and realise that.
Yeah, one has to see it. But the argument here, Henry, and I like Henry very much, but it's not really. It's not a great argument. More trees were lost in the 1987 storm than by HS2, and that may well be a fact. But that wasn't planned by man. Freak accidents happen, and they are devastating for everybody. And nobody's.
I think we should add to that destruction.
Yes, but you don't purposefully go and if you go, oh well, I'll just have a storm then, because that's all right. I think I'm on your side, Henry, for most things, but I don't understand the argument why you can't go round the trees. If you can go round other things, why you can't go round the trees? What's the argument to say you can't go round these ancient woods? That's the thing.
A lot of the times it seems that they're going straight through the middle of them rather than cutting around the edge or something, but anyways.
They think they moved.
Depressing subject.
Well, it's true, but it's depressing. But unless one discusses it, one doesn't get to the facts, I suppose. They moved a whole farm in Kent and a number of other buildings to build HS1. Well, surely they learnt their lesson. I mean, that sounds awful. That sounds awful. I don't even know where HS1 goes. Where is HS1 when it's at home?
No idea.
That's the thing. I mean, I don't travel by train. I've got a big diesel polluting van, which is very nice. Now, we were not going to have time, I don't think, to show Roy's video in tonight's show because it's 9 minutes. I think it's 9 minutes, Roy, which is a bit long, and it's our fault. I've been chatting too much, but it's interesting because it's about an electric car. So we may save that for Monday, but we do have time for Bernie's, which would be that, and there's a bit of art as well, actually, which we'll get to. In fact, we'll just go into the art gallery very quickly because I want to do this because Robin only wants to send these in on a Friday, and I think Robin is out there. I think I saw him. So let's just quickly go. I don't want to rush towards the end, but we've had such an interesting debate. I find these debates fascinating, and it's great to get people exercising their muscles in that way. HS2 is St Pancras de France. HS1, sorry, is St Pancras de France.
Yeah, through the Channel Tunnel.
Oh, I've been on that. I have been on it. Well, I was employed as a crazy waiter. I mean, I've never done it. Never done it by choice as a means of travelling, but I was employed in it. Well, never got off the train. Never saw France. Never saw anything. Didn't even see the sides of the tunnel. I was too busy being a comedy waiter in 2 private carriages that were hired. And we were there entertaining people. But less of that, and let's go into the gallery. Okay, so now Robin's going to show us a picture, and I've got some stuff to say about the picture. Now, what I should have done is isolated the picture from the email so that I could read the thing to you whilst you look at the picture. But he's got here his sermon. So he's going to be teaching us a little bit about photography and aesthetics, I think. So I'm just going to read through this, if I may. He says, Richard, here we go. He says, here's your intro. Here is a picture of the... Now, I probably pronounce this wrong, but these are, talking about ancient monuments, Kallinish stones. These stones were erected before the Great Pyramids, way before, and Stonehenge. It's a huge site where the stones form a cross with 2 inner circles. Some of the stones used are some of the oldest stone known to man and can only be found on the Hebrides. And, strangely enough, the only other place this stone can be found is on the moon. I always find that bit a bit mind-boggling. Americans, eat your heart out. We got there first. So, looking at the picture, there are things to note. The stones, so let me, I'll read it, then show it to you because I can't, unfortunately, I can't, can I open it in a separate, oh, I can actually. Wait a minute, here we go. Let me just try this. Yeah, here we go. And then I can, I've just worked out to do it. So here is the picture. Oh, no, of course I can't because in order to read it, I have to cut back to the, stupid me. I have to cut back to the thing. So I'll cut back. Hang on a second. Hang on. We're running rapidly out. I can't get out of.
Love that photo, though. It's gorgeous.
Isn't that? We're going to come back to that in a second. But I don't know how to get out of this now. Get back to the email. Oh, I've ballsed this up, haven't I? How do I go back? I can't go back. There's no way out. There's no... Oh, here we are. I found it again. So, right, okay. He says the stones the stones almost look insignificant compared to the vast sky. Clouds are good. The best pictures are to be taken early in the morning or in the evening so the sun is not directly overhead. That is rule number 1. Rule number 2 is in landscape photography, try and divide the picture into 3s. I've sort of achieved that with the ridge in the ground and then the stones forming a lead into the centre. Part 3 is the sky. Purists would say the ridge forms a block in the image, which is a fair point. The foreground is called dead space with nothing in it but adds to to a third of the composition. This may be going over people's heads. I've just realised that there's another rule, which is 4, and that is sometimes to ignore all the other rules. Anyway, this was shot at 10mm, f7.1 at 400th a second, handheld. I don't think people really need to worry too much about that. More on the rules of third at a later date. Incidentally, he says, I think this looks better in black and white, but that's for another day. Don't be afraid of getting down level with the ground so you're not shooting downwards. Most of my equipment is old and second-hand. You don't need expensive stuff. That's very true. And you can still take amazing pictures. Spoiler alert, next week we'll have 2 pictures of the same subject, one which works and one doesn't. So I hope I can explain why that is. I always worry when people tell me, which one works and one doesn't. I always think that's down to the person who's viewing, isn't it? Not, the beauty is in the eye of the beholder, although I completely take the fact that often you can help it by adhering to a sequence of rules of aesthetics. But anyway, it is a beautiful picture, and the sky looks incredibly dramatic, as well as the stones, older than the moon.
Amazing. Just love the colours. I mean, I have to admit, black and white photos have their place, but I do prefer colour.
Yes, I mean,
I'm a loving person.
Yeah, I mean, I often see black and white as just being an excuse to be a bit arty, and then what are you saying? Unless there's a real reason for it.
Yeah. I quite like when if you've got a black and white image, but there's one thing that's colour or one colour in there that just peeks out. I like that.
So anyway, there we go. So that was our view. Thank you so much for sending that in, Robin. And we look forward to the other one then. So one works and one doesn't. Maybe it'll be bleeding obvious, and we will want to know the secret. So I don't mean to be downcast on that, but I always worry when people, we get a lot of videos in here, and I don't like to tell people what's the right way of doing something the wrong way. I can give hints and tips, just like you did. But I think everybody finds their own style, and I think that's the way it should be. But anyway, that's brilliant. Thank you so much. And it was lovely to go out there. So that's in the Hebrides, is it? Somewhere up in the Hebrides, is that what you said? Calin, whatever it's called. I can't even pronounce it. Can't even find it in the thing. I'm rubbish at everything. Callinish stones. Marvellous. How about that? Right, we have run out of time, but I'm just going to. I think let's save Bernie's wonderful. Sorry, Bernie. I hope you don't mind. We can save Bernie and Roy to Monday. I don't like doing this because you've sent them in, and I'd rather do that. But I don't want people hanging on. An hour and a half is quite sufficient for most people. Callinish, says Nootka. Isn't that what I said? Calin. I've got here Calinish. Callinish. Nice vanishing point photo, says Dave Ivad. You're inventing new words, says Sean. Marvellous. Anyway, it's Rob. I don't even know if Robin's out there. I can't see him commenting.
He was. Haven't seen him lately.
Oh, right. Well, anyway, Robin, we did show your picture. And we read out the email. Brilliant. So, that's probably our lot, really. I hope that's okay. Sorry to disappoint. No problem, says Station Master Choice. Thank you so much, Bernie. I appreciate that. And who was and Roy? I hope that's all right, Roy. We'll bung it in because there's no point rushing these things because I think people, like to see them. So sorry, but we had a great discussion. We've had a lovely discussion about HS2. We've had the discussion on the useless terms that we've enjoyed. We've discovered that I can't read an email coherently, and that Joe has an amazing ability to do that thing with his tongue. And of course, the lovely Julia is passionate about trees. So that's all good. Well, I hope you have a good weekend, everybody.
Oh, yes, have a lovely weekend, everyone. I thought the stream froze then. I was like, what's going on?
Sorry, I kind of said that as if everybody was going to reply instantly. I hope you have a good weekend, everybody. Yeah, we will. Hope you have a good weekend, Julia.
Thank you, and you all, and you all.
Yes, I must try and get out and do a video outside. But there is a video for tomorrow. Hope people enjoy it. And until then, take care, everyone. Thanks ever so much for coming along. Look after yourselves. Thanks to Judith for being out there and monitoring and doing all of her stuff. And to Andrew for ringing in and telling us about the song. Colonel Corregretti for taking us up a mountain. And Nikki for taking us to Reepham, which was an interesting place. And to Robin for his wonderful picture. And we will get to the other stuff next week. Take care. Look after yourselves. Thank you, Julia.
Thank you, everybody.
All the best. And from Julia and I, arrivederci. Goodbye. Goodbye.